All right, and we are live. Let's go. Why study braiding and braid extensions?
There are many different styles when it comes to braiding
Recap from yesterday, and then we're moving over into our next video.
and adding braid extensions. Some styles take just a few minutes, while others can take several hours. That's why it's important to know the various braiding styles your clients may want, so that
Oh, wow.
at the end of those hours, you've provided the client with a look that leaves them smiling.
I love it!
Yeah, we got to figure this out. All right, let's skip our video intro. That was just a recap of yesterday and move to our consultations, okay? If you have your 20 question consultation questions that I asked you to do, put a one in the chat for me, please. If you have them right here with you in your hand while we speak, put a one in the chat. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Tara. Good morning. Good morning. Last call. If you have them in your hand right now, you follow directions from yesterday, put a one in the chat. Okay. All right. So is it safe to assume that no one has them? Okay. And one thing you guys have to know, this is a virtual component, but you still have to do the work. All right. If I am particularly saying that something is going to be on your exam and I marked it out that you should start working on this particular area, all because you don't do it doesn't mean it's not on the exam. All right. So when you get to your exam and you're lacking in that particular area, um, it almost like we have to turn the mirror around on ourselves because we didn't do the work. And I don't care if you're a great tester, it doesn't even matter. This information, it has to be repetitive. Okay. The information has to be repetitive. So you're going to see it again. And because it's a virtual component, many of you guys are getting ready to move into the practical component, but you're not getting there until you pass the theory exam. You cannot pass a theory exam if you do not follow through on the assignments. And this is not the first assignment that was not turned in. So I know someone had stepped off. If you have your 20 questions, the consultation questions I asked you to do yesterday, if you have them in hand, please place a one in the chat. Because if you have them in hand, I'm asking you to send it to me now. If you have them in hand, place a one in the chat and send to me now. The email or text message. So you can scan it, screen it, whatever you need to do if you have it. I would not accept it after the next minute and a half. Okay. All right. As we begin to move forward, we're on pause on braiding consultation. The homework assignment was to familiarize you with consultation questions that you would ask clients. All right. And although we've seen consultation after consultation, this particular consultation is discussing a braiding consultation. So if clients are coming in wanting a braid or a braid extension service, particularly there are questions that you would ask. There would be questions that would rise up. Have you had these services before? If so, if it's yes, how often have you received these? Do you receive these services? When was the last time that you went a length of time without these services? Okay, and services, I mean braids, weaves, things of that nature. You can say braids for today. I also would ask about familiar styling. Okay, Tara, you have it. It's a one. I need you to send it over to my phone. That's not, I'm putting the number in the chat if you, okay, or you can take a pic and email it to me. Okay, just go ahead and send it over. Thank you so much. All right. So when we look at braiding consultation, there's a series of questions. Although the general questions are, of course, lifestyle, what do you do? But now we're talking about styling options. Literally, braiding becomes a factor if we can do the service or not. It's as important, the braiding consultation, as important to those that get braids, just like those that get relaxers and color. Okay, so this consultation for braiding is very, very important, and it continues to allow you to hone your skills as you begin to build a rapport relationship with your clients. All right. This day and age, there's a thing about vibes and energy and things of that nature. Well, back in the day, we just like is feeling you. Are you a good match with your client? Clients will evolve. Okay. And no client is yours. But while they are there and they choose to service, you choose to service them and they choose to patronize you by paying for your services. Okay. Hashtag paying for services. Okay. So it is a service industry. There's a rapport, a relationship that must be built. I want to tear down the wall of I want my client to sit there with me and don't say nothing to me. That is just not going to happen. There has to be a conversation. And if you are the particular hairstylist, cosmetologist, braider that does not mix and mingle with your clients, that is some social life skills that need polishing. All right. Those are some social life skills that need polishing, which means it I don't know if it's some people would categorize themselves as introverts and things of that nature, but even myself was very shy growing up. I even as an adult, I may take on the lead of introvert at times. I'm careful about the labels that I may put on myself, but I like my quiet moments, my private moments. But I understand I love people, and I understand that my business is a service business, so I must show up. I must commingle. I must have conversation. And for those individuals that may be shy and you're moving and growing in life, which means you're getting older year by year. It's a great celebration, but your life skills must hone, your life skills must come up and grow as well. And back in the day, your older people used to say home training. So you would take a little bit of that home training with you everywhere you went. So people know that you were trained or raised right. Okay. And a little bit of that home training would go inside our lessons. They would go with us to work. That home training would go with us to school. It'll go with us in building friend relationships. Okay. And so if that may not be the factor, even myself in teaching, before I went in the classroom and taught my first class, I literally had to say, I need to compartmentalize. I need to put everything that affects me outside of this school in a box. And when I leave, it's my decision if I want to pick it back up again. Okay. So this wanting a client, wanting to charge them, and then not wanting to conversate with them, not wanting to build relationship with them, just is not going to work. This, if you have not noticed, this economy is in a place it's never been in before, with particular leaders. Now, things go around and you see it again. Okay, so the economy is in a place. Anybody that comes to get a beautification service, it is still a privilege. They have made room in their budget to come sit in your chair, and you ain't gonna say nothing to them. You ain't gonna say thank you. You're gonna have an attitude. We're not gonna do that. Okay. What we are going to do is acknowledge the financial shift in our country, in our region, in our salons, and say, okay, what can I do to make sure there's no shift in how I pay my bills? What can I do to make sure there's no shift? When I tell you people rebook because of experiences, you ain't got to be the best one, but you could have been the nicest one. You could have been the one that treated them the best. They like coming to your shop and sitting all that time and getting their hair done because they like the atmosphere. Because when they go home, it's probably hell on wheels. Okay. So we got to learn how to build the rapport. This is where you also pull out your personality. If you have a sense of humor, be yourself. You will draw clients just like you. Okay. If you are concerned about certain things, you notice if you look at your books years from now, you have clients with same characteristics as you. You literally attract and draw in people of your same personality. Okay. And so when we're in a service business, there is conversation that has to be made. So in our elements, in our element of I received a tarot of trying to figure this out and build clientele and do service from service. And we have different types of consultations. Sometimes we got to trust ourselves and we got to want it so much that we're willing to walk out on the ledge and say, I don't talk to people a lot, but I know if I need to get from point A to point B in my career, in my life, I need to start building conversation. I need to be a little bit more conversational. I need to, if you got to have a script of how you introduce yourself, every now and then how you intertwine with your clients while they're there, or you need to learn how to build a consultation style. Simply use your personality. Be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else, but you have to build a consultation. And then it needs to be second nature to what to say. Your eyes go with your mouth. What you see builds on the questions that's going to come out of your mouth. But you have no way of doing it if there's no practice. If you're not thinking about the questions, if you're not completing the homework assignment, there's no way for you to be successful in a consultation. You're not just throwing stuff off the top of your head. This is ingrained in our industry. And I know y'all tired of speeches, but literally, you have to get this. It is part of the foundation. And if you don't get the foundation, we're going to have problems if you just bring them in, take them straight to your chair, do anything you want to, and take their money. We're going to have some problems eventually. So we got to have conversations. And we have to have the braiding conversation a consultation before you even get to the chair. And there's a difference between the consultation and analysis. The consultation is the conversation. The analysis, I'm using my eyes. I'm observing things mentally, signs of infection. Okay, this person tells me they don't get braids often, but I do see shedding. I do see thinning around the hairline, thinning around the perimeter, thinning in the apex area. I'm noticing these things that says, hey, there's something else that's been going on. And so then we start to build conversations about a client's health. Okay. Do they drink their water? Okay. How often do they shampoo their hair? What are they shampooing their hair with? I don't want to talk brands. I want to talk senses. How how does your hair feel after you do whatever you do at home? I want them, does it feel strawy? Does it feel rough? You have to bring it down to where they are and bring them up. Okay. So the consultation is going to be necessary. One of the products that people like to use and talk about is oils and things that I need to oil my scalp, oil my scalp, oil my scalp, oil my skin. So many people are selling hair loss oils, 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 oils. Let me tell you guys something, especially we're about to be on the extension chapter, then we're talking about the braid chapter. When you take it back to hair and scalp, you have oil, sweat, and dirt that is accumulating daily throughout the day on your scalp. This is why some people have weekly shampoo, some people have daily shampoo, some people shampoo twice a month, and this is why you can have so many issues going on with the scalp because it's not clean, it's not detoxed. Okay. Um, with the braiding consultation, you get into that type of conversation. All right. You can talk about medications. Okay, because sometimes really medications got to come out the scalp. It will cut medications will come out of the pores. It'll come out of the areas where there is seemingly the most hair follicles. Okay, and so those areas could be our intimate area, our underline, our underarms, and also our scalp. Okay. This is why when people go in for drug tests, the drug tests are so sophisticated. You can cut all your hair off. They'll get hair under your arm. They'll ask for hair in your pubic area. Okay, because this everything in the body comes out through these particular areas. All right. This is why there's cleansing, there's bathing that must go on daily. Okay, because what we put into our body comes out majority out of our pores wherever there's a large accumulation of follicles, and it's in those particular areas. All right, and so when we deal with the scalp, you're looking at a person that may drink or eat sugar a lot. Whatever their vice is, it's coming out of the scalp. It's gonna cause. It's gonna be a question that you will ask or have on your client consultation form because it's going to affect the wearability of the style. Because if they already have drying or have a scalp condition and then they are drinking, now you have the drying or the crusted dandruff that they may have. It starts to mix with a moisture from the alcohol and it's a waxy or it may start to smell. So now a person's braids or braiding style, when they open it up, smells. And a client may say, I can't deal with it. I need it taken down. I need this, I need that. And it's so many things. That consultation, the conversation is going to be necessary. You're going to have to hit all of these areas. And if you don't practice the questions of what you're going to say, you're going to miss it because you're just going to say this the basic surface level stuff and then you're going to take them over to your chair. Okay. And so even health concerns about them sitting long periods of time, You cannot put a ring light in front of everybody on the highest light. You cannot have a dark room and then go into the light on everybody, because you do have some individuals that may take medications for seizures and things of that nature. And then when they are exposed to that bright light, it may induce a seizure or any other medical concerns. So this is why we have consultation. This is why we have conversation with our clients. We're just not taking their money and then doing their hair. This is why you're the professional and everybody else is just on a pursuit that they'll never be there because they did not get licensed or properly trained. Okay, so the braiding consultation, no matter how familiar you are with it, it is necessary. No matter how many times you see consultations, it is necessary. Reviewing, as we stated yesterday, the 3 specific considerations for braiding consultation. I am going to place that in green today. We're going to use green a lot today. Number 1, analyze the client's hair and scalp condition to determine if braiding is a healthy option. Now, many times braiding is not the healthy option. Many people use braiding as protective style, but if you do not take care of the braids, it is no such thing as the protective style. Okay, and I've seen people have braids, and then when they take it down, their hair is more damaged than it was when it went up. Okay. Also in the consultation, the braiding hair selection. If you're going to use extensions, the extension hair, the braiding hair. Some of the hair is made out of a harder plastic and not processed. And that hard plastic can cut your fiber. So if your hair is already thin, your natural hair is already thin, and you go get a hard, unprocessed braiding hair, it notice that sometimes it cuts your fingers. It also cuts your hair. So it'll create splits in your hair as you braid. Those individuals, the hair come out more damaged than it was before you even went in because of the hair, especially if it's braid tight as well. And hair, that extension hair is simply pulled plastic. Just if you think of your shoe boxes, those plastic shoe boxes, they just continue to heat that up and pull that. It's plastic until it becomes this string concept. And they dip it in chemical. And so that's literally what's you're braiding your hair. You're intertwining with your real hair. And it can be hard and it can cut the hair. Okay, so you'll need to analyze and determine if braiding is even an option. Number 2, you'll pay particular attention to hair type, texture, and curl figuration. Okay, where are they? What type of what we're doing, how we're doing. I think we're chapter 7 or chapter 9. You're gonna see hair and scalp all the time. Hair type. Okay. Okay. Are we oily? We dry? What are we doing? Hair texture. Are we fine, medium, and curly? And also they don't have on here hair density, okay, which goes right along with the curl figuration. Is it fine, medium? Is it heavy density? Heavy and coarse density. Both of those words, heavy, coarse, means a lot of hair on the head. A lot of hair on the head, which means you may have to do smaller braids. Okay. And 3rd, note any scalp abrasions, active hair thinning or balding. Scalp abrasions, an abrasion is a cut or scrape or bruise. So the skin has been cut or scraped, scalp abrasions. Most of the times, if there are scalp abrasions, you will have contraindications, which means there would be maybe they can't get that service. Okay, so definitely if there's a scalp abrasion, cut or scrape, you are not doing any chemical services. Okay. When the skin is the major protectant of the body. When the skin is cut, that is a warning to the body that invasion. It's a place that germs and bacteria can come in and grow, okay, cause infection. So many other things could happen. And so we don't want any cuts and we don't want any abrasions. All right. Is there active hair thinning? Okay. We got to have a great conversation. We're going back to hair and scalp. So it's a what you've learned, you're gonna see it again. Hair thinning and hair balding. Also with the lack of hair, different forms of alopecia. Okay. Hair thinning in some cases, too much hair as you're braiding, you're adding too much additional hair, or the twist and pull of the braids as you're styling and things of that nature, day-to-day wear. Okay. And definitely we're going back to texture, fine, medium, coarse, density, fine, medium, coarse as well. And so there has to have a balance. And so those are the three things that you're definitely going to look at in a braiding consultation. And you can build questions from all of this. Okay. It says you should also ask your client the following questions. So actually, if you went back into 488, you had something to start with. Here's a few questions as related to braiding and consultation. We will also do this in green. This is a great way to get started. It says, which braid style works for you with your current look? What do you like? You're asking the client what works for them. They're taking in consideration day to day. You have someone that does not like maintain their rear hair, some type of braid or extension is an option, definitely, for them to maintain a style. So you ask them, what do they like? Okay. What styling tools do you use to create your look? And the clients may say, oh, I use a flat iron. If this is the case, I'm going to ask them how often do they use a flat iron every day? I mean, every week. If you had 7 days a week, how often do you use a flat iron to style your hair? If they say once a week, I say, oh, okay, not much. But if they say every day, I use a flat iron every day, I'm going to have red flags go off because now we have a potential of burning the hair, drying the hair out, and the cuticle becoming thinner. The hair thinning out, the actual hair starting to thin, the texture thinning out because of the wear and tear of the heat element on the hair every day. Okay, so that would be, you ask about the blow dry, you ask about the flat iron, and you just ask what type of tools do they use to create the look. How much time would you like to devote to maintaining your braids? You ask them again, what works for you? Do you want something you can just pull up in a ponytail and just put a bun on? Or how do if you get the braid style, if someone who doesn't do their hair already, they're not gonna build an extensive routine for a particular braid style. You're gonna still have some neglect issues with that particular style as well. So we gotta learn our clients and have conversation. Next one, is there a certain facial feature that you want the braids to emphasize or de-emphasize? Eyes, jawline, ears. And we always ask this, what do you want to cover something up? And what do you want to enhance? That's simply what that question is asking. Some individuals may say, I have a round shaped face, so I want my face to look slender. And so that tells for me this client does not want long braids that align the face, but we should give it some kind of texture and we should bring it in a little longer than it will start a little longer than the chin area. Okay. This person probably would not have a part down the middle, but they will have a part on the side and like we'll swoop it over. And so we'll really want some movement to take away from the shape of the face, the jawline. Same thing if someone had a rectangular facial feature, they will probably want some braids with some texture. You'll want to build some texture and some movement instead of having just straight blades. That comes with just you studying, going back to hair and scalp. You'll find it's also in the makeup chapter. So asking a client, what do they like? And what's their favorite feature? So somebody may say, oh, my favorite feature on my body is my lips. My favorite feature is my eyes. And so my favorite feature is they may say their whole face. And so what you may want to do is emphasize their favorite features. We're pulling the hair back. They may be great with a braid, ponytail, or something, just so people can accentuate their brows, their eyes, things of that nature. So you're asking them, you're learning about them, what they like and what they don't. This is the same question you would ask when you're doing makeup on a particular client, because you would take the makeup to accentuate what their favorite features, and then you would take makeup concealing, okay, concealing to minimize the features that they don't like. All right. And then it has, do you own hair care or styling accessories? This one says swim cap, hair wrap, add bunny to it, things of that nature to protect your braids during sleep, swim, or exercise. If they don't, this is a retail item you must have. And then also you can educate them about the maintenance and upkeep and show them how to do it. It says, how long do you expect your new braided style to last? Of course, you're not a miracle worker, but it's good to have a conversation with them about how long to keep these services up. Because at the end of the day, they are protected service. Some people get the services because they don't want to do their hair every day, but they also don't want to go to the salon and pay more and do this and do that. So we have to come to a realistic expectation of how long is this going to last? The client may tell you, I want this to last 3 months. You may come back and say, well, the style you want um, should not last longer than 6 weeks. And if you go 8 weeks, that's going to be really pushing it. And you have to tell them now, if you return and you have exceeded 8 weeks, your hairstyle is going to cost more. So that's the policy, that's the business component. You want to have your clients, of course, return to you. So you would probably say 4 to 6 weeks. That's going to be realistic for a lot of braid styles. But naturally, if a person goes over that time, when they return, it's going to take you more time to get this hair back the way it is because it has gotten off schedule, back the way it was supposed to be because it has gotten off schedule. And so, because of you having to do more work, there's more labor, more product, things of that nature. And so, it's valid for an increase because you have to do more. Um, and that is just a business component of styling. I was telling someone, sometimes you just got to stand on business when it comes to that. You can get a suite, you can start doing hair, you can take the money, boom, but you got to have some policies in place and you have to stand on those policies, okay? And so if a client has been coming to you, and this is always a conversation, they've been coming to you and then they stop coming for months, they come back in on a new client service. And so some of the same things that you had gotten used to, you got their hair trained, you have to redo that. So it comes when they come back in, they should come back in paying a higher fee because of the repair or resurfacing that you may have to do. So build that up and think about that as you go as well. Um, the next one, how long do you expect your new braided style to last? Of course, we talked about that. And then have you noticed any recent changes in your hair and scalp? Brittleness, thinning, skin irritation. I'm always going to ask, what's they're allergic to? Okay. Any hair that falls on the floor, you never would pick it up and put it in your client's head. Okay. There were so many instances where people were home braiding. Someone years ago, I was a teen, years and years ago, was braiding hair and the hair fell on the fireplace. They were in front of beside the fireplace and the fireplace was holding the hair. The hair fell and the ashes and stuff. with also a spider got in hair when it fell. Okay. And the client got their hair braided, and a spider, y'all, was braided in someone's hair. And that spider bit the client. Okay. And the client head swelled up, person got really, really sick, things of that nature. And so you have to be very, very careful. That's why rules are in place that you should be in a salon setting. And that's why rules are in place that State Board just really hits the wall hard when it comes to infection control. Okay. Making sure that's another reason why the braid certification is all about infection control and hygiene instead of the actual braid technique. The braid technique was argued, it's natural, it comes, it's part of my DNA. That's what it was argued as. But the only way we could have some restraint, we talk about the cause and effect of infection, how it was spread for those that are uneducated. And so that's where the braiding parameters come from, the infection control and hygiene training. So you have to be very, very careful, very, very mindful, and talk about how long they've been keeping their braids in and how it fights more against them than it does for them because it could cause so many issues. And then let's look at as well the last one here. Have you noticed any recent changes in your hair and scalp? When we talk about brittleness, which I want you to think of the word weak or breaking, weak or breaking, weak or breaking. When you talk about thinning, you can also say the words weak or braiding, weak or braiding. So thinning around the scalp area, the hairline area, that hair is naturally is going to be softer. And when that hair is softer, it just can't take a whole lot. And so as you build weight on top of it, that weight can literally break the hair. Okay, so now we have breakage in particular areas. You have to check someone's density. You got to go through their head and check how much hair they got on their head. Okay, because they may not have the same amount of hair here and there. So you may have to vary their braid sizes just simply because there's thinning hair in a particular area. And thinning hair is a sign of weak hair, and weak hair should not have heavy braids on it, okay? Because it's going to continue to weigh the hair down and break. And if you're constantly maneuvering it by ponytail, twisting and styling, it is going to break. It is going to create a problem for you, okay? It says some clients will know the exact braided style they desire, while others may need guidance from you. All right. Like I said, when it comes to pictures and things of that nature, get educated about trends and what's going on. Getting your social media and just study your trends, study your craft. Because at the end of the day, you're there asking something to the expert, to the guru. So you need to bring something to the table. All right. Give suggestion. Be confident in your suggestions and know that you are the expert. You want them coming to you instead of them going to any big box stores. We should not love Ulta down, love Ulta down. But I don't see people in Ulta doing braids a lot. I see a lot of blowout and relaxers and chemicals and color. All right. So that would be a place that I would push my clients towards to go get a braid style or to go get products. Everything the client needs, I provide. Okay. So you become their 7-in-1 in many different ways. So when we talk about doing a consultation, the braider stylist should always point out braided hairstyles that are of interest to a client. Build your books. For me, Instagram is the portfolio. All right. So the styles that you do, things that you do, I would definitely upload them to Instagram because 9 times out of 10, when people ask, "Oh, who do this, who do that," they will go to your IG page. Your IG page can really book your clients for you, just if you putting your best work forward. Okay, so the IG is like your portfolio. It's like your resume. I would definitely put my pictures on IG I would not do TikTok unless I was teaching something on TikTok. I was showing them how to do something. I was taking them with me as I do this client consultation, and I had a voice, video, things of that nature. But I would definitely put all of my stills, my pictures. You're building something. I would do that on TikTok, on Instagram. Okay. So as a cosmetologist, your responsibility to personalize every braiding service. So more, 9 times out of 10, and we were doing a permanent wave wrap. Yes, you learn 9 part section here. Yes, you learn how to do the crocodile perm wave wrap. But when your real client comes in, your real client wants that, you have to learn how to personalize it and go with the style that you need to achieve with your client. We showed you the skill. Now take the skill and add a little sauce to it. I would not go in and put the style on my mannequin and put that on the client. The mannequin is just practice. Okay. When we look at alopecia, we've seen this before. We're not foreign to it. Okay. Evaluating the hair and scalp. Let's look at alopecia and highlight in green. Okay, hold on one moment. Call. It says evaluating the hair and scalp is essential for a successful service. It is. If there are forms, let me tell you something. If you see alopecia, that is a red flag. We have to have a conversation about what type of braids you want, or if you can even get braids. Okay. There are other options to clients getting braids. I see they're doing wig, toppers, matching it in locks, braids, box cornrows, all that stuff. Um, and so men, everybody is getting extension pieces, okay, and they're getting it in braids and things of that nature. So there are so many solutions to hair loss, but if I definitely see hair loss, it is a red flag for me to ask more questions and do a more extensive client analysis. I need to look at some stuff and ask some questions, okay? If the hair has extremely thin areas, for instance, the braid thickness will be noticeably different in these areas. So you got, yeah, if you don't have the hair to put the braid on, you can't put a whole lot of hair on this little bitty, if their natural hair is thin, and then you come with this big excessive amount of hair extensions, it's gonna be a big difference. It's gonna be heavy, it's gonna weigh it down. No matter what they sold you and told you was lightweight, is going to eventually be the demise of that hair because it's going to break off. Okay. The weight of it is too heavy. It's going to break. The braid thickness will be no different. That's what I was telling you. When you go through and you can see thin areas, you gotta measure the amount of hair that you can use in that particular area. So this is why I say smaller braids where you'll be able to it'll look balanced. And you'll need to have this conversation with the client before you even start because they may for one say, I don't want to pay because these braids are different sizes. Okay. And so with your style ability, we know how to make something blend together. Um, and if it's a hard choice for you, something hard for you to do, this is the time now in the beginning in their consultation to tell them that that's something you're not going to be able to service at this time. It says check the scalp for alopecia. Alopecia is abnormal hair loss. Okay. Abnormal hair loss, excessive, active, or abnormal hair loss. Okay. Active. There are different types of alopecia. One that you need to look at is alopecia areata. Areata. Alopecia areata. Y'all, alopecia areata comes through stress. We're in a world full of stress. Okay. When your people comes in, just say you have a mom that comes in and they're all cheery, you know. Then when you look at their hair, they have hair loss in the top of their head. It's not bald, but they have hair loss in the top of their head. And it's like little patches are missing. When I see those irregular shapes and those patches, yeah, this person has stress. I don't care how they try to fake it in the inside. You cannot fake your nervous system. Okay. That also the central nervous system is the brain. You can fool everybody else on the outside, but you cannot fool everybody on the inside. So here's what happens when we say stress and nerves. Okay. I need to go back and look at how many pairs of nerves that we have. It's 21 or 22 at the base of the brain. Well, we have our brain, and then our nerves are intertwined. They come through our neck. They go to all parts of our body, down, up again. Okay. This is why there's neck sensitivity. But with the nerves, the top of the head, the brain, there is a weight that can that sits on the nerves. And people have said, you get on my last nerve, you get on my nerves. It is like a saying of heaviness. Okay. Literally, stress becomes a weight that sits on the nerves. Okay. When stress becomes a weight that sits on the nerves do not function as well as they would normally do. Blood, the circulatory system, is not circulated in that area as it would normally be under stress. Okay, so now we have two issues. Our nerves have weight on them, stress, and then we don't have the nutrients that we would usually get. Okay, so because of the stress on the nerves, we're not getting the nutrients we also need for the hair to grow, stay moist, do all that other stuff. Okay, so with lack of moisture, you're going and lack of moisture breaking, and then lack of nutrition, hair is going to dry, don't grow, break, pull out. It's just you touch it, it's gone. And stress causes all of that bundled together can cause alopecia areata. Okay. In those cases, alopecia areata does not go completely bald, but alopecia areata, you will see hair loss in uh, areas. Sometimes it's not circular. This is why I say irregular shape. Okay. Um, how do we get the hair to get back where it is? Remove the stress. Remove the stress, whatever the toxicity, whatever is weighing on you, remove it. Remove the stress. Once you remove the stress, it naturally things go back to the way that it was. Okay. So you can have real conversation with clients if you're gonna be servicing clients, hair clients. You need to have real conversations with them that I can see what's really going on without you even saying anything. Okay. And you're gonna have to kill the stress. And it doesn't help if they're not healthy. It doesn't help if they're on a lot of medication that becomes on top of it, on top of it, on top of it. Okay. And also, once they regulate their medication, they say they change medications. They've changed it a couple times in the last 6 months. Their hair, skin, and nails is going to go through HE double hockey sticks. Okay. They're on the same system. Once you get consistent on medication or whatever you're supposed to have, you're going to see the hair get better. But while you're switching medications, going back and forth, hair, skin, and nails is on the same system, they're going to go through these trials with you. And you're going to see maybe some shedding, the drying, the weakness. You'll see that. Okay. Anybody that has thyroid issues, one of the medication, treatments, one of the causes is thinning hair or breaking hair, brittle hair. Okay. And so you may see that with clients. If you have clients with on those type of medications and then they're trying to get hair services, braid services, you may see it get worse before it get better. Okay. And then if they're on those type of medications, you might have to opt for a better style, choose a better style than you would normally choose. But that's something for you to look at. Check the scalp for alopecia, excessive, active, or abnormal hair. Avoid offering services to a client with damaged hair. We don't have to get every little edge, every little hair in because it's going to break before they even get home. It'll be too weak. Okay. We don't want to stress the hair follicles out. When we do stress the hair follicles, you can sometimes see the bulb come through the pore. When you see that white bulb that's sticking close to the scalp, you can say honestly that that hair is already gone. That bulb is supposed to be embedded. Okay, that bulb is supposed to be embedded at the bottom of that follicle. And so when you have seen someone's scalp and they have braids or protective styles and they have tension on their scalp, and at the scalp area, you can see the little white bulb. It took a lot. That bulb has traveled up a ways. Okay. And if you can see it, the next way is out. So even in the protective styles, people are losing hair, okay, just simply by braiding. The long strands are gone, okay, because of the tension and the drying. You can use so many oils and it won't do anything. If their hair is already broken and it's not being treated and it's doing this and doing that, nothing. And then here's the thing, if you're using Cankalon, monophilic um, hair, which is like adhesive, glue, can't all of that hair comes from um, the hard plastic from the shoe boxes. It's just thinned out. If you're using that hair, oils and stuff sit on top of that. Okay. And it accumulates dirt. Oils and stuff sit on top of that. And so when people tell you for protective styles, use this oil. Okay, am I using it on the scalp or the hair? What's the purpose? Find out what the purpose is of it. Okay, because if you're using too much stuff, it is sitting on top of the hair. When it sits on top of the hair, now it becomes a zone for breeding bacteria because of dirt. Okay. And you naturally have oil, sweat, and dirt coming out. So now you get naturally oil, sweat, and dirt, plus the other dirt that you cause from the product. All of that is just sitting there and it will cause bacteria to grow. In some cases, if water is introduced and it's not properly dried, now you have mildew or mold that is growing on the hair or the braids or the scalp. And the same thing that we would see Now the next chapter is extensions. But the same thing that we're talking about here, when I say mildew, mold, etc., you will also see that in under wigs, okay? Braids that's been up too long, and if it's had a covering on top of it, such as a cap or wig, too long, you're gonna see all of that possibility of what's underneath, okay? And all of that becomes breeding grounds for bacteria, fungus, mold, all of that. And people do have that on their scalps and within their style. So we want to be very, very careful. And so it says, since the hairline is usually thinner and finer, never choose a style that pulls on the hair follicles. You know, back in the day, it was micro. People always wanted to do what they saw Africans do. So they would pinch and pull at the hair. And now you have a lot of people this day and age that when you literally look at their hairlines, there is no hair on their hairlines because all of the damage from previous unprotected braid styles, now glues, lace wigs, and when we get over to lace wigs, we'll talk about HD lace, different kind of transparent laces and things like that. Hard plastic, cheaper lace, Swiss lace. We'll start talking about that because when people say melt, this melts. I lace this and it melts. It looks great, but really we're damaging the skin if it's melted. It stays there too long. And the cheaper frontals, lace, whatever, the cheaper the lace, sometimes the harder the lace, and that can cut into the skin. Okay, so now we have an issue with the lace cutting the skin, and you're putting adhesive there, and it could cause an infection. Okay, this is why people hone their craft and they continue to study and learn more every day. Any questions? Okay. Let's look at our tools and materials for braiding and extensions, and then we're going to move to a video. All right. You have your double tooth comb is used also as a detangle comb. Your square paddle brush. All right. You have your boar bristle brush, your vent brush, your wide tooth comb, and your tail comb. And you say, what are my essentials? Here are your essential tools, your brushes and combs to use, and braiding and braid extensions. And then, of course, we have our clips. All right. Um, when you look at the clips have come a long way. I don't see crocodile clips on here. Um, but definitely these black and white ones, we traditionally call those duckbill clips. And these longer ones, we call them banana clips. Okay. Um, so they've been that way for years. And then also we're looking at having a pair of shears. Okay. Each one of your tools are um, broken down for you here. And let me tell you, this vent brush is used to detangle. I like to use the vent brush to detangle wet hair. So after I may use the comb, I may go through with the vent brush to detangle, but you'll always detangle from the bottom up, guys. Never detangle from the scalp down. Always detangle from the bottom up, even if you're using extensions, okay? I like a boar bristle because it brings everything together. It's like a double whammy. A boar bristle also can be used for blow drying natural hair, getting the edges, the hairline very straight. Okay. The square paddle brush is used for blow drying as well and detangling after the vent brush. Okay. After the vent brush. I would not detangle with a tail comb. You can use this comb for parting and to bringing hair together, but I would detangle with a wide tooth comb. So the this wide tooth comb here with the handle, or this double tooth comb with the bristle, the parts are spaced further apart, but you will have to come back in with the wide tooth comb to make sure all of the tangles are out. Okay. So when you say, hey, I want to get my suite, I want to move into my salon, I want to do this, you're going to perform the services, but you also got to make sure you have your supplies and equipment to do that. Okay. Here when we talk about the steamer, deeply hydrates, moisturizes, conditions the hair. One thing, the difference between the steamer and the hood dryer. Okay. It says hooded dryer here. I'm gonna put that in green, and then I'll put the steamer in yellow. All right, so this is one of the things you guys need to learn too, the difference between a hood dryer and a steamer. You may see some salons that have the steamer where you sit under it. That is the best one for cosmetology. The skincare steamer is really not doing a big benefit to the hair because the steam is not in, it's not capsulized. All right. So the steam is not covered. It's not a hood. It's not covered. And really it may touch the cuticle and then the steam floats away. So you really, the purpose of the steam is to push inside, to work from the inside out, to push inside cortex and then out towards cuticle. Okay. And so when you have the person in a bowl and then they have the steamer is only hitting the cuticle. So temporarily it makes the hair smooth and slick, but the hair will revert back to its old ways. Okay. The product doesn't actually go inside and stick and stay. It may just float on the cuticle. All right. But when we're using steamer, it deeply hydrates, it moisturizes and conditions the hair with water vapor. Okay. The steam vapor dryer infuses, so it pushes in, it pulls in, opening the cuticle layer of the hair shaft and enabling nourishing protein conditioners and botanical oils to penetrate deeply into the cortex. So I just told you the steamers, the ultimate job is for it to get into the cortex. If you're using a facial steamer, like I see a lot of barbers and stuff using, those steamers just hit the surface. They're not doing anything. So your clients are paying for steam treatments that are not beneficial to them. Okay. You must have a steamer to really do steam treatments with a hood so the product can push through faster the cuticle, the different layers of the cuticle. You got 10 to 12 layers, 8 to 12 layers of the cuticle. Then it needs to sit in the cortex. If the protein of the hair is found in the cortex and you're doing a protein conditioner, you got to get the protein conditioner in the place where the protein lies. So, in order for the hair sometimes to immediately stop shedding, you need to get protein in the place where the shedding is taking place. And we cannot play around with just a hood dryer, or we can't play around with just a regular steamer for facials and talking about we're doing a steam treatment. It looks good for now. You're going to have the same problems in the next 2 weeks or so. Okay. So we need to have a steamer. If you guys say someone is helping me get my product, you need a hood steamer on your wish list. These steamers could go anywhere between $199 to $599. Okay. You need a really good steamer. Okay. Anybody that has natural hair, the steam treatment was necessary. Any of my color clients, the steam treatment was necessary. So if clients don't want to pay for the steam treatment, include it in the color because the steam treatments are necessary for the color. Y'all, it makes the porosity of the hair balance. It makes the color process evenly, and it's going to push your conditioners and treatments. So it's going to improve the healthiness of the hair. It's a great investment. Okay. And then when clients see something new and they see people over there say, oh, I want to get over there. And you say, well, it costs $35 to $45 for you to every treatment. And they say, oh, I want to do it. It happens. So make sure you know the difference between hood dryers and steamers. And if you're thinking about getting a steamer, I want to do this for my client, you need to get the dryer, the actual steamer for hair, not the steamer for facials. Okay. Um, of course, small rubber bands, elastic bands, bobby pins, hairpins. A hackle is the board that helps with the measurements and helps with the blending of color. The drawing board, flat leather pads with very close fine teeth, like sandwich, human hair extensions. Just kind of brings it all together. This is sometimes when you see where they are. um, the hackle and also the drum board with on some reels for manufacturers of hair. You may see them place the hair on there and pull it out, place it on, pull it out, place it on, pull it out. They are trying to measure up, get rid of all the short hairs and measure up and balance out all of the longer hairs. And of course, the various products and things of that nature for braiding. Leave-in conditioner is going to be essential. A lot of people use a lot of edge products now. Some people still use gels, and I'm just kind of cautious about using gels because of the buildup. And so within like a couple of days, you'll have this gel buildup around. So already your scalp needs detoxing because of the buildup. Okay. So find something that has a reduced buildup that still can give you the closeness you want. Pomades. It says pomades with botanical oils. If you're going to use edge controls, and I guess we should talk about it. Um, the best edge controls to me are going to be water based. Okay, because you can keep applying it, and it's just water, and so um it doesn't mix with oil. When you keep applying the oil will turn into a residue. So this is where we see sometimes the whiteness from the edge control, but always look for an oil base, no, a water base, or a water based edge control. It's going to last longer. It's going to be matte, and you're not going to see a lot of buildup. Okay, so you can reapply some more in the same area, and of course, you would not see the buildup. It may be a little bit more costly, but it's it's good. Okay. Looking at hair, you got Kinkalon, um, of course, synthetic fiber. The synthetic fiber is treated monofilament. Let me tell you something. Anything that comes in this country from another country, especially hair is a $1 billion business. And I'm gonna tell you this. There are contracts. Um, one, we are everybody's customer. Okay. We're everybody's customer. And I don't look at that as a good thing. We're never our own customers, but we're everybody's customer. But when it comes to hair, um, be careful, and maybe I should say this for extensions of buying a hair because they said it's Brazilian, buying a hair because they said it's Cambodian, buying a hair because they said it's Russian. Look, they will tell you whatever the popular trend is, that's what they're gonna put on that hair. All right. Um, the best hair is gonna be Indian raw, where you saw it cut. It cuts off, then they put it in the paddle and ship it to you. But here's what the United States says: customs, nothing when it comes to this hair, nothing can come into this country unless it is chemically processed to kill bacteria, and it avoids infection control. Got it? And so when we get this hair, I'm gonna just say what we call Brazilian or human hair. Brazilian is just because of name. I don't know any Brazilians that cut their hair. Brazilians do have long hair, but they don't have the tradition of cutting their hair. Okay. They don't have traditional cutting their hair, and it goes back to religion. They're not sacrificing their hair. Okay. And so there are other continents and countries that sacrifice hair during religion. And a lot of time, that's the hair that would be at its purest form. And so if people telling you they got this bundle and it's Brazilian, it's that. It is just a name to sell you. It's just what they're using to describe it. But if you're getting the hair and the India has a contract with China. China was providing us with a lot of pack hair. China paying all those areas a lot of pack hair. The customer stopped buying the pack hair, and China said, where are they getting their hair from? So China goes to India and says, hey, we'll pay you such and such, such, and we will be your, person. You give us the hair, we process it, and then we get our customer back, which is the black and brown. Okay. And so when you are saying you have Brazilian and Russian hair, and then Pack says it comes from China, something should click. Okay. It's just the name. And so China has this agreement, the continent Asia, all it has this agreement with the United States when it comes to imports. Okay. That this is again, if you don't follow anything politics, but you follow the tariffs. President Trump kind of figured out how to control some stuff. We buy a lot of stuff from overseas. Let's put tariffs on them to make them do what we want them to do. Tariffs is just a tax. So they have this agreement, and the agreement says you can sell to the US, we can bring things into our borders, but you have to have this chemical on the hair that prevents bacteria and the spread of disease and stuff from your areas. Got it? This is why when you get your bundles, you are not supposed to just put them in your head. You're supposed to shampoo them or detox them, dip them, okay, and break that chemical. And it's like an acid. And if you have the book, I think I write about it in the book. It is simply they take the hair and they dip it in the acid. Okay. From the acid, they go into the styling the hair, and then they prepare to package the hair and put it on a container, a ship. In order for something to get here, the average ship transport from Asia to here, the closest port from is the Carolinas to New York or New Orleans or Texas, the closest ports. It takes 30 days. What's on the ship in 30 days? You have rats, mice, dogs, people, you have urine, you have feces, all of this stuff. Okay. You have lights, you have all of this stuff on this ship that these animals get on. Okay. So when the hair comes and you take it at the pack and you just put it on, okay, you're gonna have, and your client says, my hair is just itching. I don't know how my face broke out, da 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 da. It broke out because of the acid that's still on the hair. It wasn't broken off. And then also it was dirty because it may have been residue from feces or urine in the packages. Okay. And so we have to make sure, you being a cosmetologist, that you're sharing that information, and any hair that comes in your hand must be shampooed, and they can drop it off ahead of time. You can call it a luxury detox, whatever you want to call it. But they gotta start making sure that their hair is clean before they put it right in their heads. Okay. And it cannot come into the US unless it has an acid on there. So you have to break that acid. And 9 times out of 10, you'll break that acid with like shampoo, water, and just a little oil lightener. Put it in the bowl and massage it into the hair. Rinse and put some conditioner on it. You'll break the acid. You'll see the color of that water change, because that's when you'll see the acid that has been broken off. It'll be like dirty looking water. Okay. So you have to be careful with that. Do the same thing with your laces that you see coming in. All right. Your wigs and stuff that you see coming in. Um, if you have a vendor or manufacturer that says they have a US warehouse, request that your stuff comes from the US warehouse, because what they've done, they brought it in and then they stored it in the US warehouse. And a lot of times it's a repeat. They don't hold that in the warehouse a very long time. They get rid of it, because we buy a lot. And countries fight each other over holding the treaty, the agreement to sell hair to the United States. Like Asia got their countries will fight each other. So what they have, this country gets to sell us hair between these years. Then after that time it's up, this other country gets to sell us hair. This is where sometimes you see the change in that the hair ain't what it like it used to be, because there are different manufacturers in those different countries. And they are flip-flopping who gets to sell. You get to sell and make a certain amount of money. When your time is up, it goes back to us. All of that is legal. That's contract that the United States has with that particular country. So when you're looking at the news and think this stuff don't have nothing to do with you, it absolutely has something to do with you. Okay, it is money, and the U.S. gets money, a custom fee every time a package comes here. So that's why Alibaba, AliExpress is one price, and then when you do shipping, and then by the time it gets here, customs, they drop it off at the airport or any type of port, or if it comes to your front door, there's an additional price on top of it. So all of it, especially with braiding, is big, big business. Okay. So the amount of money you're charging is nowhere near the amount of money that the US is getting off of people just to get it over here. All right. So that's one thing. This is also a reason why many people would just take a flight over to Africa and get their hair braided. How much do you guys think if you went to Nigeria and got boho braids, butt length, how much do you guys think that costs in Nigeria? Put it in the comment. And then how much does that cost here? Past butt length, real long, boho. How much would that cost here in Memphis? How much would that cost here? Anybody? Is it over 200? 500? Y'all, I have a friend she lives in Atlanta. She works for Delta Airlines. She used to be in Memphis, but she works for Delta Airlines. She flies international flights. She goes to Africa every month, okay, almost. She goes over there and gets her hair braided for like less than $60 with the hair included, and they come to her hotel. So that 500 over here, she's paying less than like 75 bucks. She's never paid $100, and her hair looks amazing and it lasts. So I'm gonna have to see. Um, and you don't have to, you don't have to worry about the hair. You don't have to worry about sitting a long period of time. She just when they have to do their rest from the plane, she's gonna call her hairstylist, and they're gonna come over and do her hair, and it's only gonna take a couple of hours. Boom, with the hair included. Okay, so it's always a different way to skin the cat, but we wouldn't go all the way to Africa for the braids unless you just had to go there. But it's look up the history about wigs and extensions, and just what's going on about the import and export. If you sell hair, that's your job to educate your clients about what's going on. And for you cosmetologists, if you do a lot of lace and wigs, in that book, I talk about the soap cap. Do that soap cap on those bundles and charge them a fee for getting it for doing it. Okay, is you're just discovering and adding more service things to your list. What you guys are going to do, you're going to continue to read the rest of this chapter, and we're going to go over terms on Monday. We're going to go over terms, and you have that 75 question study guide. Start doing those hair color questions in that study guide. Also start doing those grading questions in that study guide. Next week, We're going to close this out and move straight into extensions. Probably go straight into extensions because that's going to be a good chapter for us. Okay. If y'all have any questions about anything, give me a call. I do have to update some PSI stuff. And so I will be at my computer for a little bit if you need me. Y'all have a blessed and amazing day. Your assignment is to finish reading chapter 13 the rest of the week. I need y'all to make sure y'all safe. Go out, get your water, do everything you need to do before the weather hits. Okay. So I pray all is well. Y'all be safe. Have you a great week and a great weekend. And I'll check back in with you guys. We'll be right here Monday at the Lord Say the Same. Y'all be blessed.